All right, there we go. Morning, everybody. So I wanted to talk about something different today. I get inspiration from any number of places. I get it wherever I can find it, honestly, and I'll take it and I'll run with it. And so I wanted to talk about one thing that I've put together, which has been a very inspirational thing for me, and that is tarot spreads. Now, tarot gets a lot of bad press because it's used in a lot of different ways. Some people try to use it as a means of doing um, doing prediction of other things, but as a reflective tool, it's actually fairly interesting. And being that the old classic tarot deck, the one that brings on um, the old Rider White deck. Let me pull up a thing for that. That'd be good to have. Yeah, let's go ahead and pull one up. Let's do the old classic. Let's go with, yeah, you. Boo. Okay. You know. So, whoa. Oops. Sorry about that. Let's pull that out. Yes. So the old stuff that we're dealing with. Yeah, let's get him again. And him open. Okay. All right. So when we're talking about tarot decks, we're talking about these cards, and the old classic Rider Waite deck. Now, Waite was actually a Freemason, and he was a Freemasonic scholar. Freemasonry likes to teach things through symbolism and through algorithm. It likes to use symbols, and so it will grab a lot of things in colors. It'll use different emblems. It'll use different symbols for different kinds of flowers and all kinds of things that bring symbolism to bear. And Waite was a Masonic scholar. He wrote an encyclopedic symbol. He wrote a symbol encyclopedia for Freemasonry, and so he's a huge esoteric symbolist, symbol guy. And when you're one of those, doing up an art project like a tarot deck is a wonderful thing. So the Rider Waite deck, the one that is the classic, it's the one that everyone goes with, is actually really heavily steeped in symbolic meaning. Now, whether you want to ascribe mystical powers to the symbolic meaning or not, I find a great deal of interesting in playing with the mind and playing with ideation and playing with coming up with new ideas by using them, because they're so full of symbols and because they're so rich, and the brain wants to put associations together, and it loves to put mental combinations here and there and there and here. And so it will do these great things, and I live off of those connections. Those connections are where I get my insight. They're where I get my motivation and my inspiration. So, with that, I studied the tarot for a while. Now, the tarot game itself, tarot is actually a game. It's actually a game of trumps like hearts or spades. It just has some other strange rules about special card handling and whatnot. And it involves these cards. But the use of tarot decks as a way of illustrating art. Many artists have done tarot decks from the Renaissance period. Tarot decks with political figures on them, with various people in various roles, was all really wonderful. So here you have this deck of cards. When you put it in certain combinations, it's full of symbols. It's been made to have symbolism. It's been made to have meaning. It's been made to speak of secrets and to inspire the mind to draw connections. So that's how I use it. And I have a specific spread that I do that brought together my study of Northern German heathenism and basically the Viking and Icelandic spirituality. Well, not spirituality, but the stuff that the spirituality that has emerged as a result of study of the Eddas and study of other Icelandic and Scandinavian texts from the period about the sagas. It's the saga era spirituality, inspired spirituality. So I actually went and put together a tarot spread based specifically on that. And so I wanted to show that. Now it's based on the Questenbaum. Now the Questenbaum is a tree in Questenberg, and Queste means quest. It's the and so this is Quest City. But in Questenberg there's a tree. Let me pull that up for you. Ooh, that's a bit large. Let's get this taken care of. So in Questenberg, there's a tree that is on this hilltop right in the back of the city. And every year, the locals will go up to this tree and they'll put a new wreath on it. And basically what it is a big dead tree with a crossbar tied to it. It's got a wreath. It's got a few bramble batches on it. And this is a local tradition. It's actually a sun wheel tradition. It's a celebration of the seasons and the revolution of the year. And it's the sun wheel celebrations, very similar to a maypole celebration. Same basic idea. And these are done throughout Europe, maypoles and other sun wheel based things. And so this is a particular one where they have this tree and it stays up there all year. It's a wonderful hike. You go up into the hills, get up there, and it's a hiking destination. Once a year they have this on the Questefest, which is the local festival. Most towns in Germany have a festival once a year, and this is theirs, and they do that. Well, when I saw this tree, and I saw its association with the sun wheel intended, and you think about the Yggdrasil, the world tree in the Scandinavian myth, you get a really interesting, I thought it was a really interesting thing to try to put together. And so I came up with a Questenbaum. This is the Questenbaum is the quest tree, the Queste tree. And I thought it was a wonderful thing, so I put a tarot spread based on that. And I wanted to share that with you. So I'm going to do a tarot spread. I'm going to walk through it. I'm just going to see what comes out of it. Did this spread last night, but I haven't really done any deep exploration. But while I'm exploring it, I'll show you what comes up next. So let's switch this around. Okay, so this is the spread. And I want to take a look here. Okay, so the images of the cards are a little hazy. It's okay. I'll be going into detail on all of these one at a time. But the start, when we move with this, we start at the top, and we start with this first piece at the top of the cross, and then we hit the ring, and we go around the circle, and then we go into the middle of the cross, then we go out to both of the edges, and then we come down the rest of it and down to the bottom of the cross. That's the order, and there's 16 cards here. Now each of these card positions have a different meaning and have a different place. And so there's two angles that I'm looking at here. The straight up and down beam, that is the world tree. And in the world tree, we learn in the Voluspa. In the World Tree, there is an eagle that sits on top of it. It doesn't have a name that I know of. There's a serpent at the bottom of it. So the eagle and serpent. Even anybody who's involved with symbolism, especially from the 18th century, will recognize the symbol of an eagle with a snake in its talons, and the snake is attacking the eagle. This conflict. So you have a serpent named Nidhogg, and Nidhogg is actually he's a serpent that consumes the dead. And so if you want to think about the way that I interpret it, it's the consumption of that part of the dead that is the physical, the destruction of the self. Now, there's a lot of association with wanting to combine that with the sufferings of hell. I don't do that, but I like the symbol of Nidhogg the serpent consuming the material, or the left behind portion, the now dead part of the life. On this tree, when you have the eagle at the top and the serpent at the bottom, you have this rat named Ratatosk. And Ratatosk runs up and down between the eagle and the serpent, sowing dissent between them. He's one of those guys. You know them. They're the one. They're the shit stirrers. They're the ones that want to just cause havoc, and they want contention. And so Ratatosk runs back and forth up this tree, preventing that. Now, this is the tree of life and death. This is the tree of it is the axis mundi. It is the central concept of all the world. And so on this tree, I have, if you look at the beam going straight top to bottom, we have, at the very top, we have the eagle. Now, I'm going to get into the circle in a minute, but I'm just going to say that for the top, the next one down, that represents the Asir, the gods of creation and civilization. It is said that the Asir, Odin, Vili, and Vi, three of the earliest Asir, they are the ones who created man. Next is the realm of Midgard, which is the world itself, the actual living world that we all live in. The next one down on that line represents hell, or death, the underworld. And then I put the next card down below that, outside of the circle, is Ratatosk and then Nidhogg. And then at the very bottom, you have the roots of the tree. I'll get into the roots of the tree in a minute. So that's the bar going up and down. And then we have the circle. So the circle represent the 9 realms. And the world of the Norse mythology is broken into 9 realms. You have Asgard, which is the land of the Asir, or the Eastern people, or the civilized people, the civilized gods. This is the Odins and the Thors that you're aware of. Next is the Vanir, and they're in Vanaheim. And the Vanir are they're the primal nature gods, in a way, the ones that we are associated with are Freya, Njord, and Frey is all fertility. I mean, it's all fertility all the time. It's the power of fertility. It's the power of life. The ancients used to worship this as a god at farming time, and they wanted to, they made gifts of life to this god for the sustainment of the cycles of fertility and of life. And so it's those primal powers of life really in play. The next is Muspelheim. Now this is I'm running clockwise. So this is the first one. This is the 2 of Pentacles here. This is Muspelheim. The Muspelheim is the land of fire. This is in the myth, it's a land of fire. It's fire and brimstone and all of that, ruled by Surt. But in symbolism, the way that I look at this is the active element in life, the active, fire of life and of self. And so if taken to extremes, can definitely be destructive. But it is there. It, balanced with the stasis in life, allows for there to be a warm place where life can exist, and that speaks more to the mythology of the creation myths of the Scandinavians, or of the Norse myth. But this is Muspelheim. The next one in order is Alfheim, the land of the elves. Now, elves, I have a good source for study of elves and for what those are. And everything gets confused with Tolkien, and everything gets confused with the fantasy elves that we have. They become too fantasy ridden. But in the essence of what they are, the way that I look at it, they are the creators of organic. They are the creation from organic means. When you think about growing things, you think about herbalists, you think about being able to shape gardens, being able to leverage the way that things naturally grow in order to see them shaped different. So this is organic creation, organic growth. At the very bottom, now at the bottom of the wheel, we look at the one which has the world card in it. This is Hell. Now, Hell is not Hell. It's not fire and damnation. Hell in the Norse myth is a place for the inglorious dead. They're the dead that don't die in battle. The dead that die in battle either go to Odin in Valhall, or they go to Freya in Folksholm. One of the two. And here, but in hell is where you go if you're just a normal guy. You know, if you don't die in battle, you die of disease, you die of accidents, you die of other means. And so this is a place where you just go to rest. It's a place of rest. It's guarded by Hel, who is also... Helheim is the name of the place. Hel is the name of the... the giantess that's in charge of it. Hel is the daughter of Loki. She's... you've seen pictures of her. She's got half human, half dead face. And she's the guardian of Hel. She doesn't allow the living in there. And she doesn't allow the dead to get back out until the end days. Moving on. Next one, the one with the Five of Swords, is Svartalfheim, or the land of the dwarves. Now, dwarves in this case, in my view of it, dwarves are nasty people. In the myth, they really are. In the myths, they are very, very brutal pranksters, but they're great. They create beautiful things out of metal. They're the industrious creation. They're the creation of things. They break down the organic to its raw materials, and they build out raw materials. So blacksmiths are a wonderful metaphor for this. And all things involving blacksmithing, all things involving working things out of the earth, working gold, working gems, all of these things, working metals, all of these things to create beautiful, beautiful works is their realm. And so on the elf side, you have the creation of the organic, and on the Schwarzhof side, you have the creation of the inorganic. Next is Niflheim. This is the land of ice and frost. This is, in the creation myth, the world of Niflheim and the world of Muspelheim, the land of fire and the land of ice. I mean, if you go to Iceland, it's not too hard to see that there are really two elements, fire and ice, especially in the winter where next to a volcano. But if you're there, that balance between fire and ice, when it comes... Dab on them haters, brah. Hey, Fluffy, how you doing? So so fire and ice, when you bring that together, you end up with some kind of temperance, and so that temperance area can be where life can exist, and thus Midgard, the middle realm. And finally, the last one, where the Ace of Cups is sitting, we've got the actual giants, the land of the giants. Now, giants, when you think of when we come to the giants, we're talking not about giants, but we're talking about monstrosity. And when you're looking at a world of order, you're looking at a place with... Aw, thanks, Fluffy. When you're looking at order versus chaos, you need chaos as well, and giants represent that chaos, and they represent a primal chaos that allows us to have all the wonderment of life that we've got. So here we've got this thing. So we've got the ring. Now the order of this was actually picked up from Heimskringla. There's an introduction to one of the things. I'd have to look it up what it is, I'm sorry. But it actually gives a layout of a map of the world. And a map of the world, it shows where all the different regions exist it basically lays them out on a map of what is mostly an area around the northern Mediterranean or right around the Black Sea. And so that's how I chose that. Second thing also to note is that in the Scandinavian myth era, the top of a map will face east, not north. And so you ended up with north, in this case, is actually over there where that devil card is. So that's how I came up with the formulation of all the locations and everything. Now let's talk about these two guys out on the ends. Now these two guys out on the ends, the ones that are on this crossbar, because you've got this crossbar going that goes right through, it goes through fire and ice, and it goes through the middle ground. And then you've got these two guys hanging out on the end. Okay. So here's where we get into fate. Now yesterday I talked about fate, and if you want to, I really encourage you to go look back at that, because the concept of fate and how it exists and how our will can impact it, I think is a really valuable thing to talking about what we're looking at. And in this case, we've got the two of the ends of fate. Fate basically comes in three formats. There's everything that's happened up till this moment and all the momentum that it carries and all that it brings with it. And then there's all the momentum that comes, or all the inevitability of what's going to happen after we make a decision. And that's going to be the two put together. That's going to be one versus the other. And there's this piece in the middle where we make our decision. And that's the third piece. That's the critical piece. That's that mixed piece. And so we end up with, on one end, there's everything that's led up to this moment. Everything that's led up to now. Really? Everything that's led up to this very instant. And then there's the decision we make. And then there's everything we lead out to the inevitable outcome of that decision if things are left untouched. If things are left ungated, then this is what happens. And so here we are with this situation of, we've got this stream. We've got everything that's led up to this moment, the static aspect of life, the blending of life as it is in the here and now, the active element of life, and then the inevitable outcome. And this is what I have as that horizontal bar. The outcome if things are not changed, if things are not done, if choices, depending on what choices are made and how things go. But if it's not changed, then this is what's going to happen. Now, moving down this track, we've got the last two. Obviously, we've got these two guys in the middle. That's Nidhogg, the little rat that's going and causing problems. And then we have Nidhogg, and then we have Ratatosk. Ratatosk is where the Emperor card is right now, the inverted Emperor card. And Nidhogg is there with the two of Swords. Then we've got these two guys at the base. Now, this is where I bring in Verdandi. Verdandi is that middle, it's that decision moment. It's that in-the-moment decision. And in this case, there's I wanted to give, for two reasons, I wanted to have 16 cards. But one of them was, I love this idea of having these two notions, these two elements, these two choices, or two things to consider. And all of this is about consideration. All of this is about thinking about various things and considering various things. I'm looking for inspiration in this. So with all of this in play, so what does this mean? Okay, so I laid out my spread. I put it all together. And I have tried this with runestones. Runestones don't speak to me very much. They don't inspire me. The story that they tell doesn't tell me well. And I do much better with the stories that I can come up with, because when I can come up with stories, it causes various things to align in my brain, and I think that's the real value of doing these spreads. So, with that, let's see what we've got here. All right, so let's start with the eagle. The Page of Pentacles. First thing, a lot of people in tarot spreads like to put things back and forth. They say, all right, if it's inverted, it's the opposite. And if it's, and that's, you know, okay, that works. That's fine. But that's not how I interpret it. That's not how I work with it. I work with it with a notion that depending on what's going on, in this case, in this spread, inversion implies direction. When we're dealing with things that are facing down, they're reaching toward the roots. When things are facing up, they're reaching toward the eagle. So it's tree related. And then in the wheel, you'll see that they're facing together. Where they come together as a conjunction. For example, here at the when we see the 3 of Cups and the 8 of, is it the 8 or the 9? Yeah, the 8 of Pentacles. So you've got these two coming together. There's a conjunction there. There's something that brings those two together. Likewise, here at the World and the 2 of Wands, there's a conjunction. And while we have things moving in the same direction, they're complementary. So here we have, on the other side, Swords, Devil, Ace of Cups, into 3 of Cups. That's all complementary energies moving toward these things. So I want to find ways to have them complement each other. The fact that we have so much Pentacle in here is really quite a wonderful thing for me, because the thing I was concerned about was I was just kind of curious as to whether I could get inspiration on this project we're working on, this podcast I'm going. The eagle represents the overarching theme and the highest view of what's going on. The eagle sits on top of Yggdrasil, and it overlooks all that's there, spreading its wings, basically providing the pinnacle concept at play. And so here we have the Page of Pentacles. Pentacles, I love the minor arcana. I actually prefer the minor arcana to the major arcana, because I think each one of them has a story that goes with it. And the suits represent various stages of development in the process. The page is where we begin. And there's the theme of Pentacles. The overall theme of Pentacles represented by the Ace of Pentacles. We'll get to that in a bit. But the Pentacle story is about building and learning how to build things into manifestation. If you're talking about the mind, the heart, and the hand, this is the hand. It's the hand learning how to do its job. It's very grounded. It's very solid. It's very foundational. It's very practical. It's very engaged. And the page is the novice student, the young prince, the beginning, the one who's still learning, the one who's still putting it together. And this is a wonderful card to have as the overarching theme of what I'm looking at here. And so I'm really, really glad to have this. The advantage of Pentacles as a foundation is it provides security. It provides stability. And it is basically a statement of learning how to build the foundations of what we're out to do. And that's awesome. I'm going to change this around a little bit. There we go. So, and I think, I love that. I think that's awesome. I'm really pleased with that. So going with that as a base theme, I want to move on to looking at the next one, which is, that's going to be the 3 of Cups. So the 3 of Cups. this is in the position of the Aesir. So in the role here that we're talking about with Aesir and Asgard, it is order and law. It is structure. It is the possibility of the human being to raise civilization out of the necessities of nature and move on to the higher capabilities of what we're able to do. And with that, to have it be the Three of Cups. Now, the Suit of Cups is, when I'm talking about heart, mind, and hand, the Suit of Cups is about the heart. And so it's about the passions, about the emotionality. But when we get into the Three of Cups, when I talk about emotions, remember when I talk about emotions, I say that they're a language. They're almost a sensory organ unto themselves. If we can cultivate them, if we can learn how to use them, if we can learn how to engage that way. And so this sensory organ is basically this way of feeling through life. This way of using intuition and using our insights and using the way we feel about things and listening to those things and incorporating them into the way we think about things and what we do. It's the heart part. It's the part that brings the passion. It's the part that brings the love and the desire and the ambition and the hopes and the dreams and the fears and everything. So this is where the cups come in. Now, the cup story is less about a progression in my mind as it is about moments of transformation. It's about moments where we come to different stages of being in our life. We come to different ways of being. And the Three of Cups talks about fate. So here we are talking about fate again. And I'm really happy to have that in the home of civilization, in the home of the structure, because this reinforces to me this notion that the order of the universe, the order of the structure of how things are going to follow the rules of fate and follow the rules of fate and luck. The gods in the mythos, the Aesir, would go to the Norns, which are the three Norns, which are Urd, Verdandi, and Skald. And Ur's well is where they would go, and this was the well of fate, and this is where all of this stuff came in. And Ur is actually the name of the Norn that represents everything that came up till now. Everything represents that far end over there on that left side of the cross, where the inverted King of Pentacles is. So everything that led up to this moment is there. The Verdandi, I love to say that I dance with Verdandi because it's dancing with choices, it's dancing with decisions, it's dancing with being in the moment to make the call and being willing and actively engaged and driving to make that call. And then there's the outcome that comes with it, which is the Skald. Now, having this Three of Cups, I always think of the Norns when I come to the Three of Cups. And I don't think it's accidental. And so to have that in the place of the orderly and structuredness, there was a wonderful line talking about the way that the Greeks used to evaluate their relationship with the gods, saying, "You do not want the attention of the gods." It's definitely a two-edged sword. Because for every god that gives you attention, that gives you positive attention, there are three more that don't like that god, so they're going to get even. And so you've got cases like Ulysses, where he's the chosen of one and the hated of others. So you end up with this case of, I'm okay with the Norns being the ones that are going to regulate the order of things. I'm good with keeping that way. Now, next one in the line is coming into the... Next one we come into is... Let's fix that up. Yeah, next I want to bring... Let's get the Pentacles one. So... we have the Nine of Pentacles. And the Nine of Pentacles... Okay, so the world of Pentacles is that which is you're building and you're making things happen. When you have the 7 and 8 of Pentacles, one is a farmer farming and raising his crops. The other one is a craftsman pounding away on the pentacles or coins. This is the 9. And the 9 speaks of the fruits of harvest, the great benefit, the wealth accumulated, the stability established, and now all of the benefits of that, a life of leisure, or relatively speaking, a life of ease and comfort and majesty, of nobility, being at the higher end of that, being at the further end of that journey of building up something, building up an empire, building up stability, building up your kingdom, as it were. Now, this is sitting in the place of the Vanir. And the Vanir are the forces of nature, the primal forces. And so being in a position of comforted, established authority among the forces of nature is quite a lovely sentiment to think about. And when you look at these, you've got this and the Three of Cups coming head to head. They're joining together. There's a moment of conjoining. Just as the Vanir and Aesir joined together, they basically fought a war, and then they ended up coming together just as they come together. So these two cards are coming together, which means the energies of the Norns and the energies of this established position among the Vanir really does bode for a really positive sentiment. This is a really nice thing. It makes me want to think about how is it that this actually manifests? What is this primal raw power of nature at its most noble and mature manifestation? What is that? How does that lead? But it does tie into the Page of Pentacles. Maybe that's something I need to learn. And so maybe looking at the development of things, maybe allow things to develop a bit more. Allow the natural ebbs and flows of the world to basically engage that way. Allow that back and forth. Allow that to be what it's going to be. And be fine with that. Maybe that's what the message is there. All right, moving on. We slip into the Two of Pentacles. All right. And so with the Two of Pentacles, this is the beginning of the journey. Yeah, each of the suits has there's a number through them. Now I'm a fan of swords and cups being instantaneous, but pentacles and wands seem to have a progression to them. And I have both the Two of Pentacles and the Two of Wands in this spread. They're at a point of separation, which is interesting, but they're both in this spread. And that speaks of beginnings. This is the beginning of the work. And this is the beginning of the work. Beginnings are unstable, and you see the ships moving on big waves, and kind of the slippery nature of these pentacles and this infinity band going on. There's an active aspect of it with the red also, but the Two of Pentacles isn't established. It's not stable. It's in motion. It's dynamic, and that sitting in Muspelheim, in the house of fire, and the house of the active element that's going to propel things forward, is a wonderful compliment to saying about where we are. I definitely, you know, when I do these things, I look to how do they match with the way that I'm feeling about things, because my assumption is that the interpretation that I have is a reflection of what's going on inside. That's why when you do one for yourself, you have to be careful. When you do readings for other people, you can offer things and they can ascribe to your description whatever you want. I'm just going straight to the interpretation, which is my own insights onto how I'm looking at it, because I want to know what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. And here, this notion of being unskilled and unable and not sure of myself and very slipshod. I got to admit, this whole endeavor of trying to put together this live stream and putting together these events, you know, I'm there. I don't feel really stable at the moment, and so having that being the active element that's going to partake, yeah, I like that. And this is the value of this. It brought to mind that I am struggling and that I feel uncertain. I feel unsteady. I feel ungrounded. I mean, he's got one foot on the ground, for Christ's sake. He's not stable. So this was just acknowledging that and recognizing that within myself. You know, when I talk about emotional intelligence, as a manager, I need to be emotionally intelligent in other people. But when I perceive emotions, I have to project onto other people my interpretations of what I think their behavior means. And so being really intimately aware of how I feel about things and where I stand, this has been really valuable. It's been valuable to see this card in this position because it brought this idea to mind. And it brought the recognition that I'm feeling a little scattered. Maybe I should stabilize. Maybe there are a few things I can do to nail down a little stability and get a little more firmness and make me feel a little more comfortable in the journey. And that's possible. But then we complement that with another beginning card. Another card where we just start out. And that is the Two of Wands. And so the Two of Wands. So, as I said, Pentacles is a suit of growth and transformation in the hand. Cups is the experience of the heart. Wands is the bringing of the mind, the building of the plans, the structuring of things. And the two is that moment when you're thinking about things, when you're planning. You haven't set out yet. You're still putting things together. You're still organizing things. But notice this is sitting in the home of the elves. So this is a case of an organic thought process. This is the growth through organics. So allowing things to grow mentally. The thing that comes to mind here is I've been cultivating my tools, my mental tools, and my intellectual capability in certain ways for years. And so here, in this case, is a statement of think what comes naturally. Allow the natural thought process to do its work and allow it to grow organically rather than trying to structure or format or formulate things. And to me, this speaks almost as a warning of over-regulating things. You know, when you regulate things, when you create a format, when you create a template, when you follow rules, you know, here are these 7 steps to do this and 6 steps to do that. And, you know, I create them, I like them, I use them, I enjoy them. But when you adhere too strongly to them, every tool you use is made for a specific purpose. And when you adhere too strongly to one, you know, you're going to be possibly using the wrong tool for the job. And so you need to have one eye out for when things need to be different, when you need a variation on a theme. See this a lot in business. See this a lot in the tech field. Oh, there's a when you work with engineers like rules. They like rules and structure and framework. It just makes things run better. It makes everybody more comfortable. It sets all expectations. It allows everybody to just not have to worry about any of the negotiation or any of the organic aspects of being human, and you just do the job. And you can live in a black and white world. Engineers that I've worked with really appreciate that because it gives them a sense of stability and a sense of well, life makes sense. They're heavily intellectual. And so in this, I'm getting this message of don't adhere to that so strictly. Plan, obviously, use your techniques, use your capabilities. The planning is what you do. But there is an organic way in which it will emerge. The plan will emerge. It's more kind of a plan it, but don't be too strict. Plan it, but allow the plan to organically shift like a tree. When you raise plants, you want to let them grow a bit on their own, as well as make sure that they stay within bounds of what you want. And so here's this case of this organic growth, this organic piece, and it's like basically this card is just saying to me, hey man, relax. And it's nice that it separates itself from the Two of Pentacles, because here's this sentiment of instability. Obviously I need a structure. And then the other one says, well, yeah, but let the structure organically grow. Let the structure organically emerge. Let it come of its own. And think, plan, yes, but plan with using the things that are natural. And this is a very different thing for me. I am not very familiar with that. And so this is a wonderful warning, or it's a wonderful hint. It's a wonderful way of thinking about it. Just relax. It's okay. Just stay dedicated, do the job, but allow it to organically grow into whatever it's going to be. And in fact, it's this card right here, along with a couple of others, that actually motivated me to do this live stream about a tarot card reading. Because the reality is, I usually keep this stuff very private. I don't share that I do this. There's a lot of in some circles that I'm in, there's a lot of condemnation of this kind of thinking. But I find it incredibly inspirational. So here I am, going with the organic, going with what it is. I did the reading and I went, this would be a great thing to share and talk about. So here it is, bringing this part to the fore. So the organic growth, the elf world, the two of staves, that works. Now, moving on to the next one. The next one's really tricky, and I'm not entirely sure that I'm satisfied with my consideration of what it actually is. So I may ramble a little bit on this one, and that's a good thing, honestly. It allows for the mind to be explored. So, the world. The world card. Now, this is interesting because the world card represents completion or finality. It's the last of the trumps. It's the end of the full journey of trumps, and it has the four parts of the Sphinx. So you have the human, the eagle, the lion, and the bull. And so you have these are the four elements of the Sphinx, and they're considered to be the cultivation of these is how the highest form of man comes together. The concept of the Sphinx is a metaphor for the highest form of man, and each represents part of it. Now, I'm not a big scholar on this. I have a couple of friends of mine that are and speak very strongly to this. But what this speaks of is of completion, of the full experience of humanity, of the full bringing together of everything. And the notion of completion being in hell, in Helheim, is a wonderful notion, because remember, hell isn't damnation or destruction. It is death, though. And that is that perhaps there's this notion that I'm done, that I'm finished, that I've learned everything I'm going to learn, that I've done everything I'm going to do, that I have become everything I'm going to become, needs to die. And that this process may actually be the vehicle of becoming something new, of learning to be something new, of learning how to take on something new. And so this notion of it isn't over, let the notion that you're finished, let that go, because that whatever life was before, the notion of you being done is dead. So no, you can't have it. And that's another notion with hell. Helheim is an interesting thing in that the living, there are myths and legends of people going to try to get information from hell. Odin does this a couple of times, raising the dead to get information from them, and they always resist, and nobody wants to come back. They demand to be let. They demand to be left in the realm of the dead. And hell, actually, I look at hell as a protector of that notion. Let the sleeping lie. And so in this case, I have hell standing there saying, let this notion that you are finished, that you know that you have completed your journey, let that notion go, because you can't have it. It's not yours. And there's a certain amount of I'm kind of happy to hear that, because I am worried about a few things. I'm leaving one life and starting a new. I'm walking away from a successful, regimented, structured, organizational building of products and whatnot in tech. And I'm coming to embrace the more human aspects, the softer skills, and I want to bring this notion of excellence. I want to bring this notion of how it is within our power. It is within our grasp to do great things. And I want to inspire others to do that. I want to inspire others to pick up and grab and run and go forward with it. And do that. And that would be interesting. And so perhaps I have not learned all that I need to learn about myself. Perhaps this is just the next step in my journey. And so this notion that all the world, that all of my highest potential is still denied me. I'm not allowed access to it right now. This is actually a really positive, promising thing. And that it comes together with allow it to organically grow. Don't worry about, okay, now I need to go on and learn the next thing. Let it grow. When I bring it to, it's coming to head with the two of staves. Let these two come together. It's okay. Let it organically grow. Because there is growth to be had. All right. Moving on to the dwarves. So, with the dwarves we have, what do we have there? We are moving on to the swords. Now, the sword suit, okay, sword suit is always tricky. It's the 5 of swords. So, in my view of looking at it, where pentacles is the hands, and cups are the heart, and staves are the mind, swords are the trials, and the things that need to be endured, and the things that we go through. Now, I don't have a good feel for the Five of Swords as a trial. I have always looked at it as the unsatisfactory resolution of conflict and a need of mourning, but the celebration of that in the when people mourn, they are healing. When people are experiencing sadness, that they're not turning to violence. It's a healing process. It's an unpleasant one. Almost everything in the swords, in my view, is unpleasant. It's an unpleasant one, but it's not one to be. It's not one to be distraught over. And so you've got this guy smiling here, gathering up the pieces as the other two go and process and begin their healing. But this is a case where it's interesting because it sits in the place of dwarves, which is the inorganic creation. And I don't have a good feel for what this can mean here. In that I need to create a healing process, an inorganic one. I need to build something, or there's something going on there. It steps away from the world, so it's separating from the world, and it begins this cycle of movement up through the rest of the things in the wheel. So I'm gonna want to come back to that because I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking at there. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that one, and we'll come back because I think there may be some hints in the Devil card. And the Devil card is the next one on the list. So when we pull up the Devil card, let's get that up. All right, so the Devil card, always fun. So the Devil card is one. I love the Devil card, by the way. It's one of those things that it really speaks of transformation. You have the active fire element in the male. You have the active generative element in the female. You have the chains, but the chains aren't actually big enough to hold you there. They could actually leave if they wanted, but they don't. And the hand positions are important for symbolic reasons, but basically what the devil card speaks to is self-induced constraint. It speaks to this notion of there is that you're being your own barrier, that you're creating your own barrier. And this is really interesting, considering that it's sitting in the realm of the frozen. So what is stasis? What is happening? So you've got this 1-2 punch. What is keeping things frozen? This inability to set yourself free from preconceived ideas, from preconceived notions, from preconceived things. And so if I'm unable to set myself free from these preconceived things, that does kind of complement actually the notion of completion being dead. It's like, no, you're not done. There's work to do. You give yourself freedom to transform again. Give yourself freedom to become something more again, to do something else again, to build again. There's this notion that actually there's a notion that's coming to mind that is really complementing. It actually complements the next card as well, and it's really interesting. Alison Armstrong is a spokesperson, and she wrote a book called Keys to the Kingdom. You can get it on PDF now. It's there. she did this study where she studied a bunch of men and asked them questions because she realized that she was dating men and having a hard time making any of them stick. So she went and just started doing interviews with men, and she learned a lot of things. And one of the things that she put together, she made this observation of, is there's these phases. And it's not just men, it's anybody that engages in ownership of their environment. And the reality is that more and more women are experiencing this too, because of the way that our Western culture is changing, and the roles and responsibilities that women are having to have in the workplace, in some cases whether they want to or not. And so this notion of there are various stages, and the metaphor she uses is a very male one, but it like I said, it's not gender specific. It's just, this is the language that she used. You start with the page, which is the one that looks to others and aspires to be something. This is the young boy, for example. And then you have, what do we got here? And then you've got a second one, which is the knight. Now this is the first sense of freedom. Get out there, do the adventure, save the girl, do the thing, go on the great adventures. This is the knight great adventure role. And knights they achieve great things, but they don't have any staying power. They don't build anything. They do their job. And they go on these adventures, and they have that, and that is their life. The next step, usually sometime in the mid-20s. Some people stay knights their entire lives, but usually in the mid-20s, there comes this point where no longer satisfied with what to deal with. They want to build something. They want to make something more, whether it's a family or a career or a livelihood or whatever. And there's this building phase. It takes about 10, 15 years till you build what you have. Then you go through a midlife crisis, in which you recognize that you've built all this stuff, but it didn't really give you what you thought it would, as far as a sense of satisfaction and worth. And so you go through this phase of depression while you try to figure out how you feel about it. And then you move on to the next step of learning who you are and what you want. And she calls it the king phase. You become an advisor. You become a champion. Then there's a phase after that, which is the elder phase, where you're done giving advice. It's interesting to watch. My dad hit that some time ago, and it's interesting to watch, where he used to always have, good recommendations for me, and then suddenly it's just, well, yeah, that's the way you're living your life then, okay. And it was interesting to see. But this notion of stages, and so perhaps there is this case of what this could be a message of is I've convinced myself that I'm done building, or at least I'm done building the previous one. I've built a previous life, and I'm enjoying some of the benefits of that. But now I want something new, something different, and this is this new life that I'm working towards, and maybe I need to let go of some of the elements of the old life. Maybe that's what's holding me back. Maybe that's what's stopping. Oh God, that's painful. It's a painful thought to consider. It reminds me of the story in the Bible story. When Jesus met the rich man and said, you've got all this. Or the rich man said, I follow all the rules. I do everything I said. I'm a good man. What more do I need to do? And Jesus said, well, give up all your wealth and follow me. And he said, wow, no, I don't think I can do that. And that's that idea. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to make it into heaven. And that notion of you've got to be able to set yourself free in order to move forward, in order to take things to the next step, in order to go and do things. And it needs to be organic. It needs to be or at least what I need is to move away from. I got to where I was because those were the expectations of what a successful person does, and I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be seen as successful. I wanted to be successful, and so I went and I did it. And I met a limit. I met a wall where, if I wanted to continue to be successful, I had to start doing things that I didn't want to do. I had to start being a person I didn't want to be, and so I didn't do it. Which led me to where I am now. And maybe that's what this is. This holding me back, this frozen thing is I need to learn to let go of the old expectations, the old paradigms, and find out what's coming up with new. And that actually makes the next card really interesting, because now we're moving into the realm of giants. And with the realm of giants, we're actually looking at a fascinating card, which is the Ace of Cups. Now, the aces are a particular thing that I enjoy, because the aces are the aces represent the entirety of the suit. They represent the entire theme of the suit. So this notion of the emotional piece, the emotional aspect. Obviously, I mean, the symbolism on the card is very straightforward. It's the cup of Christ. You've got the whole. You've got so many elements there that are all playing to that. But that speaks to that entire piece of that. And when you look at the point of being in this world, the true sin of life is not living, is giving in to all of the pedantic and tangential miseries of life. And yeah, okay, sometimes they're overwhelming and sometimes they drive you down, but overcoming that is why we're here. So that we can become something more, so that we can take it further. And this card speaks of all of that, and that it's sitting in the place of the Jotun, the place of Jotunheim, the place of the giants, those that are the source of all organic cosmic wisdom, except they don't necessarily agree with order. They don't think that a ordered, structured, civilized means of doing so is the best way to go about it. But they get overcome by that civilization. Still, it speaks to that piece of, let go of structure, let go of a system, let go of this whole externally induced idea of what's right and wrong. And for me, that's a valuable lesson to hear right now. For me, that's, I wake up saying, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing? How is this even reasonable? What the hell? But I'm getting this message of it's okay. It's okay to let things happen organically. It's okay to not know. It's okay to be unsure. It's okay to be unstable. The instability is going to move things forward. The organicness is going to create new ideas that come to mind. Letting go of completion, letting go of being this whole notion of being successful. And finding the way forward with the new self that I have now. The person that I am today, not the person I was yesterday. Be the person I am today and move to the person I'm going to be tomorrow, rather than getting stuck and staying in the person I was. And so we move into what was I? Now we get into that whole statement of Urd and Skald, or Skadi. And Urd and I always call him Skald. It's Skadi. Anyway, Urd and Skadi. So we've got the first one will be Urd, and Urd is an interesting card. It's a well, not the Urd card is not interesting. The card that's there is interesting. in that it is another Pentacle card, but it is the King of Pentacles. Now, the King of Pentacles is not the highest form. It's one thing that in the series of interpreting the cards, the King of Pentacles, that's not the culmination. The culmination of the story is the Ten of Pentacles. It's the retiring old man who's now paying with his dog. The King of Pentacles is the overseer and authority over the suit. This is the thing. The page is the novice of the suit. The page is to become the king one day. But the king himself is the great overseer of the laws and rules. Now, in the case of Pentacles, there is the disadvantage. The king is too single-focused. The king is too focused on the material outcome. It's one of the disadvantages of it. But it is triumph. It is overcoming. It is success. It is winning. And that is where I am coming from. And all of the momentum of that, the momentum of that achievement, of that whole House of Pentacles, to have it be the great authority of the House of Pentacles at my back, as the voice of the momentum of fate, of the all moments building up to now. What a wonderfully powerful thing. If I can break through that constraint there with the devil, if I can get over myself and propel it into the current, then it would be really interesting to see that happen. I like this notion. I mean, this is where it's coming from. That's the past. And that's everything leading up to the present. I mean, that's today. You know, you've got this case of everything I did, everything my parents have done, everything their parents have done, everything the generations of my family have done are leading to this moment. Everything my brother and sister have done that have influenced me, that have done everything my loved ones have done, everything their families have done. All of these things, it's all funneling together to this one moment, to this moment of now. And this is the card that I have to represent all that I have at my back, the wind in my sails. Whoa, love it. The great authority of having built and knowing how to build and understanding the mechanism of building and how to make use of the hands. For a good old guy who likes to be grounded in earth like I am, this is a very, very reassuring thing to see. And it makes me happy to see it. On the other end of the scale, it's almost poetic. We're looking at and what's coming. If we're, what's on the horizon, what's coming up, what is I call it the inevitable outcome, but not really. What is the direction we're going? Where are things already propelled to go as they are? They move into the Ace of Pentacles. And that's really fascinating because the Ace of Pentacles it represents the entire suit. Like I said, with the Ace of Cups, it represents the entire suit. It represents the entire process. And so here is this whole new world of a new building, of a new empire, sitting here laying before me. Will it be a physical one? Will it be a financial one? Will it be a spiritual one? Don't know. Don't know what kind of empire it'll be. But it makes sense that right now the foundation of empire is unstable. The fuel is the beginning. There we are at Muspelheim, sitting there right there at the beginning, fueling it forward. And what an amazing thing to have on the other side. So all this momentum coming in with a barrier of can I set myself free? And on the other side, the fuel of what happens, responding to chaos and responding to dynamism and responding to what you naturally do when you're stumbling. You try to catch yourself. It propels you into energy. It propels you into motion. With the result being a whole new empire being built. I like the message. Makes me happy. So, moving back to the middle. with that, we now come into this centerpiece, which is Midgard. It is the realm of man. It's where we are. It's who we are. And so with Midgard, we are looking at, wands. And here we have the Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands is the great champion of reason. It's the application of reason to take it to the fight. It's the instead of the principle, it's the active element of the mind. So remember, wands are mind, pentacles are hand, cups are heart. And so in this case, you have the active element. And this is the world I'm living in. The application of the mind, the application of all of the thoughts and ideas into practice. And I got to tell you, that's a struggle. I acknowledge that I am struggling with that, and that I am needing to get some kind of help with that. So I like it. I'm actually, in order to bring it all together, I mean, this is really the card of me, the card of self, the card of the person that this is about, or where they're at, or what the world is in their place. This is Midgard. This is the real world. All of the rest of everything in this spread is an influence on that. This is our experiential place where we are. And right now, championing the cause and actively engaging in the process of this reasoned thing where we're just starting, really, but being actively driven into it. It's an interesting thing to consider for the placement. Moving down, but now we're back into the Axis Mundi, we're back into Yggdrasil. And so moving down, the next one we're looking at is Ratatosk. Ratatosk is an interesting little bugger. So this is the stuff that undermines. This is the stuff that's trying to make things tricky, trying to cause a certain amount of chaos, trying to muck up the gears, trying to keep the two ends fighting against one another. And who do we have there but the Emperor? Where are you? There you are. And you know, the Emperor card, yeah, if you want to talk about reaffirming this theme we've got going on here, who is causing muck to happen? Who's raising Cain in my Axis Mundi, in my tree of life? Well, this notion that I am in charge, this notion that I am superior, this notion that I am not superior, but that I have this thing. This is an ultimate statement of pride causing turmoil. With all of this message going on saying, I don't really know what I'm doing. It's been this recurring theme to come in and say the thought that you think you know what you're doing, and then the pride and arrogance that you know what you're doing is causing a problem. It is causing disruption. And is leading down to Nidhogg. Now, Nidhogg is wow, talk about a compliment to the rest of it. I don't think I need to go much further on that. Now, Nidhogg is this next one. Nidhogg is the consumer of the dead. But here we've run into another sword card. So, again, it's talking about struggles, trials, and tribulations. And in this case, we're looking at the Two of Swords, which is closed eyes, closed heart. Now, there's a little more symbolism here that you need to know a little bit about about various elements of certain pieces, or at least I think you do. The sea is the representation of the greater wisdom, the bigger, the more, the great, a treasure of the mind and the heart and what and the soul and what these can be. And here she sits with her back to it, her eyes bound, her heart closed, her hands only focused on prevention. She's unable to use her hand. She's unable to see. She's unable to feel. And so here's this notion at night. She's got, or he, I guess it could be, but I've always interpreted it as a she. She's the closed door. And so here, taking this together with the emperor, because the emperor is facing down toward this, and they come together in union here. The arrogance of pride, keeping a door closed, keeping my heart closed and my eyes closed from seeing what is possible and what is there. And this is the notion of the thing that needs to be consumed. This needs to be devoured. This needs to be wrought. This needs to be destroyed. So this is an ultimate statement of open your heart, and open your eyes to other things. And perhaps we can free our hands to do the good work. And maybe that's speaking to what we need, what's happening, what's going on. And so here's this great thing saying, open yourself up, take a chance, step into something else. And we're really getting a theme here. And the theme is now speaking to the choices that we have, the notions that we have on this. And so moving into these two last cards, these are the Verdandi. I call them Verdandi 1 and Verdandi 2. And it's basically to give two angular approaches to where we're at, what choices we're making, and where we're going. And so looking at these, got noisy stuff going on. Sorry about that. Looking at these, we've got on the Verdandi 1 and Verdandi 2. So Verdandi 1, actually we're going to start with Verdandi 2 because it's a nice way to talk about what we've been looking at. This is the 9 of Swords. It's lamentation, it's mourning, it's the tortured soul, it's beating yourself up, it's having nightmares over the past and having all of these things going on. And this is one possible way to go. Look at all that's been done and look at the constraints and look at the barriers and look at all the things that are holding things up, and finding out that, and just being devastated by it and being tortured by it, being tormented by it. And this is that case of let go, let go, let go, let go. Do what you can to try to free yourself from this, and don't be tormented by it. Don't be driven by that. Don't be overwhelmed by that. And that's really what I'm hoping to have happen. With that as one message, the other message that's going on for the Verdandi moment, for the choice today, for the thing we've got, I could not have asked for anything more wonderful to perceive than the sun. Yeah, I'm sorry about the noise. I got a lot of construction going on at the house today. But we've got the sun. So the sun here, the sun brings life. The sun engages in all things. It also speaks to the rising of the sun in the east is also a statement, an assessment of wisdom. And so from the sun being the truly beautiful element of life, the body warming, the soul warming, the life-giving element, I can have myself done up in in mourning, or I can engage in the sun. And I guess the nice part about this is to have that duality, to have that saying, look, don't bother looking at this, look to the sun. And again, that's that notion of it's my own approach to looking at it and saying, hey, I've got emotionality. The emotion can lead me to suffer, or it can show me a path forward. And here I am, if I open myself up to the message, if I open myself up, if I allow myself to hear, if I let go of some of my baggage, if I get something going, it'll be okay. It's going to be unstable. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be a little confusing. It's going to be a little weird. But if I champion it, and if I drive it, and if I go, it will take me onto the path to empire. And I have at my back the powers of all of that knowledge of how to build, all of the past successes of all that has come. I have the fates on my side. I have all of the power of the emotional experiential thing. This is all about let reason have its proper place. Let planning and structure have its proper place. Allow life to do the work. And I really like that message. I really, really like that message. So with that, I think we've done this spread to death, but that's the Questenbaum spread. That's the way that works, and that's my interpretation. I've really enjoyed this because I needed to go through this spread and understand it anyway. But I'm glad I shared it with you. So there's that. And so, hey, let's see what we've got here. So with that, I'm ready to wrap this up. I'm happy to have done this. It's been really great talking with you. The standard fill-ins. I've got the Twitch channel. By all means, subscribe. Please subscribe. The Twitch actually allows us to do certain things based on the number of subscribers and participants that we have. I'm really, really glad to have gotten through to some people. And I'm really grateful for the 5 of you that I have right now. So thank you. I am up on LinkedIn. I have a YouTube channel that goes with this too. I do need to put that YouTube link up. I think I'll do that this soon. But if you want to get a hold of me, I'm on Patreon. I have a Discord channel that when I'm online, when I'm up and working during the day and doing my thing, I have a Discord where I love to chat with people and I love to talk with people. And so to get onto the Discord, all you got to do, it's a $1 Patreon contribution. That just tells me you're serious, and it gets you onto the Discord. Happy to talk with you. If you'd like some private work, if you want to talk about anything privately, or you want to engage in anything privately, hell, if you want a tarot spread, let me know. Reach out to me on Patreon, Discord here, or even on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to talk to you. Anyway, this is the Excellence live stream. I'm Miles. I hope you enjoyed the spread. It was a lot of fun for me, and I will talk to you next time.